Hello, my name is Melina Meza, and I'm here with YogaUOnline to offer one of the poses we love, Downward Dog. I hope this practice helps you fall in love with one of modern yoga's most popular poses. We'll do lots of little warm-up sequences to get to the challenging areas of the shoulders and the legs, in particular, for Downward Dog. For this practice, you'll want to bolster 2 blocks and a strap and proximity to a wall, if possible. We're going to begin our practice on our back. So if you find a way to the floor and support your spine, one of my favorite ways to start a practice with the spine supported by the floor, the feet hip distance apart, and the arms down at your side. Okay? So have the palms face down, and one of the places we'll start to explore is your range of motion in your right arm. So as you inhale, please take your right arm straight up into the air and as far back towards your ear as possible. As you exhale, we'll take that same right arm down by your side. We'll repeat that 4 more times. Inhale, the right arm stretches all the way back by the ear. Exhaling this, the right arm comes down to your side. Inhaling, arm up and back. Exhale, arm down at your side. Inhaling all the way through that range of motion. Exhale, arm down at your side. Okay, the last one. Inhale. And exhale. Okay, and then keep the right arm down. Let the left arm now stretch up and back towards your ear or back to the floor. Exhale as you bring your arm down at your side. So you might notice each side is a little different. Keep going. Inhale, which is why I find it helpful to do some asymmetrical movement. Keep going with your breath, as well as we'll explore using both arms at the same time. Inhale, that left arm is moving back with your breath, and exhale, arm at your side. And the next time the left arm goes back by your ear, let's reach the right arm back by the ear and keep both arms down as you now stretch out both of your legs and stretch the legs out to the ground. Draw your legs almost to touching and then point your toes towards the sky. Try to firm the action of the legs and just take a full big body stretch here while you're receiving that support of the ground. Okay, we'll take one more breath here. And then as you bend your legs and roll over to your side and locate where your strap is, and that'll take us into the next area of the legs. Okay, so if you start maybe with your right knee coming in towards your chest, and first just give that right knee a squeeze. The left foot is going to stay down on the floor. All right, if you take the strap around the bottom of the arch of your right foot, take the right leg up toward the sky. And I'm a fan of making a few circles with your ankle to help loosen up some of those calf muscles, which can also make your downward dog feel challenging in the legs. And then go the other direction with those circles. I'm trying to just move the ankle rather than moving the femur. After a few of those rotations, we'll keep the toes pointing down towards your face and then begin to pull the strap down against the arch of the foot, the toes pointing down towards your face. And we're going to try to keep that leg completely straight. So as you may know, in Downward Dog, the legs are straight, and this is a wonderful place to start to stretch your hamstrings. And often a full stretch takes close to a minute to really get into the muscle stretch. The next piece, we're going to add straightening the left leg to the ground and just making sure as we energize and lengthen that left leg that we don't lose the breath along the way. Okay, so taking full deep breaths in and out into both legs, imagining there's that L shape in the legs that's quite dynamic. Okay, so pressing in both directions, down and up. Let's take one more breath here with the right leg up. And then we'll release and bend that right leg, set the right knee to the floor, and then take a moment and bring your left knee in towards your chest. Squeeze that in, and then take the strap around the bottom of your foot, sort of middle, lower part of your arch. And as the leg goes up, try to keep the strap loose for a moment so that you can make those rotations around your ankle. You can maybe even start to feel go the other direction, the calf muscle engaging, the ankle releasing. It's not uncommon to hear some popping and cracking sounds in the ankle. Okay, let's go ahead now and point your left foot down towards your face and then actively pull the strap down against the arch. Press the foot into the strap so it's a dynamic stretch in that left leg. Take a moment here, and then we'll take the time now to see if it's possible to stretch that right leg down to the floor and slide the right heel closer to the wall in front of you. And take a moment now, energizing the direction of both legs, up through the left and down through the right, making sure that we don't lose the breath here along the way. Big full breath in. And then taking one more breath out. Okay, so we can go ahead and bend that leg and now set the strap over to the side. So we'll take both knees in towards your chest. And as you take both knees in, this would be what we often call the upside down, downward facing dog. So as you inhale, the legs go up into the air and the arms are going to stretch back towards your ears. So this is similar to what downward dog looks like, but only it's upside down version. And to make it dynamic, we'll exhale and squeeze the legs back in. Inhale, straighten your legs as your arms go all the way back by your ears. Okay? And then exhaling, knees into the chest. Try that a few more times. Legs up, arms back. Exhale as you hug your knees in towards your chest. And so we're just starting to loosen up some of these large muscle groups in your back and in the legs to help us have a successful and stable experience in downward dog. Exhale, hug in. And one more time, let your arms reach back. This time when we hug the knees in toward the chest, go ahead and take your hands around the backs of the legs and then rock yourself up to a seated position. So as we come to the seated, cross your ankles, come around to all fours, and just take a moment to work on the hands. So I'd like you to look down and see the hands open underneath your shoulder line. And try to spread your hands so wide that you see the little webbing between each finger digit. And from here that you start to press down into the index finger knuckle and the thumb side of the hand. And just feel what that's like to really touch the ground with your palms. We'll begin to push down through the hands, the full handprint, as you lift your chest bone up away from your thumbs. So you start to feel a little bit of shoulder blade action stabilizing on the back with the support of these finger-like muscles called the serratus anterior. So they're trying to help you support the shoulder blades staying on your back. Okay, so something that can be interesting if we're tight in the shoulders and rounding forward is to turn your hands out maybe 5 degrees, both hands, so you can start to feel a widening of the shoulder blade away from your spine and even a widening through the front of your chest. So turn your hand back to forward, notice the position of the shoulder blade, and then turn your hands out maybe 5 degrees to feel the shoulder blade moving a little wider away from your neck. Okay, so we're going to eventually choose which one you like as we get into the downward dog. But for now that we know that information, we're going to turn the hands to face straight ahead and take your left hand and place it right in front of your right hand. Spread the fingers open. Lift your chest away from your right wrist. There's a slight round of the back. I'd like you to keep both arms straight as you look back towards your right knee and sit back maybe 3 to 4 inches towards your heels. And I wouldn't expect anybody to actually sit back and touch their heels. So see if you can feel some stretch along the outer left arm, sides of the ribs, and maybe even all the way into that left corner of your lower back. And try to remember to keep that right arm straight. The pose is not about sitting back on your heels. One more breath, and then shift your weight forward. Take your left hand under the left shoulder line, and then take your right hand directly in front of the left. Spread your palms, push down into the hands. As you lift up through your sternum bone, look back towards your left knee. Without bending your left elbow, sink your hips back maybe 3 to 4 inches. Relax through the neck as you would be doing in your downward dog. And try to keep that left arm really strong. So you're hugging the muscles deep in toward the bone of the upper arm. Take one more moment exploring your opening on the right side of your arm, chest, and waist. And then shoulders come forward, and then both hands down. Okay, so as you curl your toes under, bring your knees together, and you can start to feel that there's quite a bit of work in the wrist here in this pose. So you might make a few circles as you're getting more comfortable using the wrists. We like to rotate and stretch them until they're comfortable bearing weight. Okay, so now we need a bolster and a block to now get a nice symmetrical stretch through the arms and side of the chest. So from here, as we sit back with the hips toward the heels, I'm going to have you bring the bolster in towards you so that you're able, you might have to fidget this a few times, to hold the block the narrow side between your palms. And as you sit back towards your heels, you want to have the bolster there for your forehead. So as we catch the forehead here with the bolster, I'm going to raise the forearms away from the bolster and point your fingertips toward the ceiling. And see if you can feel now this nice symmetrical stretch, even stretch from your elbows down through the sides of your chest, into your waist, and even into your lower back. It's one of my favorite ways to start the morning. So take a few fuller, deeper breaths into the sensations in the arms, the shoulders, and potentially in the side body. And we'll let the block move forward, lift your head up, and then we can try that same posture, that same move without the bolster. And eventually we'd like to get comfortable doing this here, where you put the elbows down. Again, same idea, lift the block, your forearms, maybe even walk your elbows forward now, and then bring your forehead down toward the floor. Okay, just a slightly more intense version of this. And if your neck's not ready for this, then we know we're going to stay with the bolster version a little bit longer. So stay one more breath here. Then you can bring that block forward, lift your spine up, and then we can set that block out of the way for a moment. Okay, so another place that we can start to open up through the arms and the side body is as we come forward with the arms, a modified child's pose. You can walk your hands over to the right, and when the hands wiggle over to the side, at some point, we'll take left hand on top of right. Again, we're stretching from the arms all the way into your back muscles, which are also going to be helpful to stretch to prepare for a successful downward dog. Lower your head down and take one more breath into that left side of your body. We'll take the hands over to the left side, and then the hands go far enough that you start to feel a stretch through that right side of your body. We'll lower the head down in between your arm bones and take a big breath in and a big breath out. One more big breath in and one more breath out. So walk the hands back out in front of you and then come forward. Okay, so next place is the feet. So if we start to separate your knees hip distance apart, curl your toes under, and I'd like you to sit back towards your heels with your toes curled under so you actually begin to stretch the vertical arches of your feet. Head hangs down toward the floor. Just get that feeling. So now when you're bringing your body down in this way toward the floor, you're starting to get what downward dog feels like without having to bear weight in your hands or your shoulders. So this is basically the first place I feel this is basically the first place where we start our downward dog exploration. At any time, you could come down to this variation of downward dog in a yoga practice. The torso stretching, and we're just bypassing the hamstring part. Next part, if you bring your shoulders forward, halfway forward towards your wrist, you're going to look back towards your knees, and now try to lift your knees off the floor, and then start to press your belly back towards your thighs. So getting that full, long stretch with bent knees. So we're getting closer to seeing what the hamstrings look and feel like. We'll gradually start to straighten your legs just to give yourself a little peek, and then bring your knees back down to the floor, belly back towards your thighs. Exhale as the forehead comes down. Let's try that again. Let your body come forward halfway, so you're looking up to the front of the mat. Lift your knees, hips, spread your fingers wide, and then look back between your feet, and then slowly press belly toward thighs, and then try to straighten your legs. So let's bend the right knee towards your chest and sink your left leg a little lower. Bend your left knee and sink your right leg a little lower, so you feel the difference between the legs. So when we have a little bit of height under the heels, which is great to do, to keep the lift of the inner legs and to keep the skin of your ankles lifting up toward the knees rather than seeing the skin of your ankles wrinkle up down by the floor. That often means the legs are not working to their full capacity. So as we lift up through the ankles, you'll see that skin stretch, and then we know we're really dropping into the legs. So bring the knees down. One way that we can support the legs is to use your two blocks as a bit of a wall or a prop to fill up the negative space underneath the feet. So from here, if you set your hands in that wide, spread open position, toes on the floor, heels perched up on the blocks, a lot of times you can really now start to work the legs in downward dog. Of course, we're building strength in the shoulders here as well, but trying to keep now the focus of the legs straight. What's important is that we keep moving the shoulders back away from your palms so the shoulders don't round forward and start to create some tension in the wrist when we round forward. So if necessary, bend your knees to move back and then create more height if you need to have straight legs and arms. Then the knees are going to come down to the floor. If we walk the hands in toward the knees, and now we're going to pivot around. As we pivot around, one place to use the wall is to give us opportunity to have less work in the shoulders if we're close to downward dog, but still need a little bit of warm up. So if your hands are shoulder distance apart with the blocks at this angle, you can come into the downward dog in this way with the feet apart, and we can see that the angle is not quite as intense as I had before. And this way, it allows us to maybe stay a little longer and get some stretch and strength in the shoulders. Try to lift the heels up so you see the skin around the ankles is moving up toward the knees. And we'll bring the knees down to the floor. One other place that you can start to do this if that's too much work is to stand with your feet hip distance apart. Put your hands on the wall shoulder height, and then we can also move back away from the wall this way, and we create the same shape of downward facing dog without having the shoulder work or putting weight on the wrist. Take one more breath there. And then last but not least, we might take your yoga mat and roll that into a little bundle here so that you can put your ball of the foot on the yoga mat, the heel stays down on the floor, and you've got the ability now with the wall here in front of you to start to lengthen and stretch your calves. One of the other areas that can be tight for a downward dog. Okay, so staying with that practice, arms can be at your side if you're comfortable balancing. Okay, and then we step off and just notice the feeling in the calves, the stretch that you just received. So I hope some of these practices serve you and having a successful downward dog. Thanks for joining us here at YogaUOnline today. Namaste.